Well, I think for one thing, the demand is huge, right? We see clients obviously recognizing the cultural impact as well as just the overall attention impact that those particular streaming players have in the marketplace. So for one, it's just, I think, just by the demand alone, has put a lot of attention on it, and has put clients in a position where they're really interested in learning more and seeing what they can do in that space.
Do you and your clients, do you categorize the FAST channels in a different place than some of the paid ad-supported services? Like comparing a Netflix or Paramount Plus with a free ad-supported platform like Pluto or Tubi.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're always just looking for how do we get the best mix of long-form video and big screen video. So I think that for us, it's like looking at those platforms and saying, what are options for targeting the right audiences, finding the right context? That's really the top line. Right. How do we really figure that out? So I'd say yes. We're looking at it all under the guise of quote unquote TV. But then within that, we're just looking at what are our best options for reaching our audience in the best possible way.
Do you and your clients, speaking of under the guise of TV, would you put a YouTube in that space and TikTok, or are they really in their own category compared to CTV?
That's a great question. It's one I always push to our investments team is looking at, for example, Nielsen One. What does it cover? Does it cover TikTok? Does it cover YouTube? For me personally, I grew up in the digital space, so I absolutely look at those all under the same guise, and it's something we're trying to push the agency to look at that way. I would say the industry and all our clients do struggle with that a little bit because they want to look at it as online and kind of TV, right. And we have to, as an industry, I think, start to look at that a little differently.
How challenging is it for you right now? It seems like what the industry wants to have more currencies, but then it also seems to be making it for a very complicated way of buying and evaluating television. What's that like right now?
For us, it's not that bad because actually we're a challenger agency, so we're actually always looking for unique ways to go about planning, buying, and everything we're doing overall. So, I think anytime there's complete lack of standards, it's challenging for everybody. It creates complexity that we really probably can't manage. At the same time, we like the idea that there's unique ways and creative ways of getting at and thinking about how we should buy quality. So it's high attention, reaches our audience with little waste, or has high impact from an ROI perspective.
You mentioned attention. There's a school of thought that should become sort of another currency or something we layer onto that. Is that something that is good for the CTV marketplace or makes it more complicated?
Oh, we love attention. We're a big proponent of it from a Mediahub perspective. Yeah, we actually think attention's a great model because at the end of the day, what it does from a metric perspective, it gives you an idea of probably quality. Quality is where we want to go with things. Like, what are we actually buying? Are we buying something that's a high quality? Reach is going to be really challenging in the future, no matter what we're doing across all the different platforms, walled gardens, you name it. Reach is important, but at the end of the day, for us, we are actually looking at how do we get to a quality impression, and we think attention is a big part of that mix.
If there's a complaint about CTV right now, it's the frequency problem. It seems almost unmanageable. Have you guys figured out something that works?
I think at the end of the day, for us, there's a couple different options. One is where we can apply first-party data, a people-based approach. We can handle some level of frequency, and then also really limiting, focusing on the players that we know work the best, and try to limit it the best we can, so we can kind of bring those together. But right now, there's no silver bullet there.
How far? One of the promises of CTV is you're going to be able to target just as precisely as digital, using data and all those things. How far away are we from that realistically?
Yeah, I think we're in an adolescent stage. If I was going to look at it that way, I'd say from a targeting perspective, definitely an adolescent stage. The good thing is that I think CTV can leverage the learnings from the digital space. I think you already see that, like fraud was identified pretty fast. Whereas in digital, it took us like 15 years before we started like really doing a good job, I think, with things like fraud and problems like that. So I actually think in this stage, it'll move faster than digital did, but we're still in an early stage. We're still in a place where the technologies, they're not like completely like digital, so they're a little different and they're not that standardized, and we have to learn from a different players in a kind of a fragmented landscape how to like work across those things to really come to the right place and figure out what we're looking for.
Right now, in terms of the CTV seller marketplace, you've got the traditional big TV networks, you've got TV manufacturers, you've got device makers. Is that too complex, and do you think that's going to shake out over time?
Yeah, I think by nature, a lot of marketplaces do tend to shake out, or you find tools and platforms like we did in the digital space, like the DSP side of the world, that kind of help determine, how to work across that level of complexity. But I actually, we welcome it. We like the idea that there's a lot of different options. You can get creative with it, and it's not, frankly, as stale as maybe the TV market has gotten in the past, few decades.
Lastly, what have you seen or what are you looking to learn from the IAB that's kind of piqued your interest?
I think there's a few different areas at IAB that we're talking about. One is, one panel I talked about, which isn't always the most exciting thing in the world, but that's privacy, and privacy is a big part of it. So that's a big, focus for us. Another one would be CTV and how TV landscape, which, frankly, it's challenging to teach a TV buyer how the Roku platform works. That takes a lot of time and effort. So to understand more about what other people are talking about and where their challenges are in that space is also pretty interesting to me as well.